Let's go to our left.
Good afternoon, Tom Haslam from KPMG. We have talked a lot about big societal changes and getting beyond the single purpose of building shareholder value, which is a great discussion, but do you have any tips for getting our own organisations unstuck? So convincing or maybe incentivising the power bases in our organisations to move beyond the cycle of doing more with less and investing in innovation and the top line.
Well, the recent study that was done by McKinsey and Company pointed to the idea that the internet in the United States, at least, accounts for 4% of the GDP, roughly 4% of the gross domestic product. And they looked at lots of different aspects of the internet, but they also looked at the jobs being eliminated by the internet, and they said that they concluded that for every job being eliminated, they were creating another 2.6%, 2.6 new jobs in a startup realm. And so when we look at existing industry, I mean, there's this downward pressure. All of the existing industry has set procedures and processes in place, and so there's this constant pressure to improve those existing processes. In the startup realm, it's sloppier, it's messier, and so as you're creating new businesses, you tend to be more lax about the hiring. You're still trying to figure out what these processes are. And so as you go into these growth modes, it's an easier time. And so spending more time on figuring out how to unleash kind of the creative spirit and how to create better systems for spawning new industries is worthwhile. We're also putting more and more power in the hands of the individual. And so we're working on this whole concept of what I call the empire of one. It's a one-person business, one-person industries that they become more manageable when you don't have employees. It doesn't mean you're not working with anybody else, but you're working on a contractual basis. You're not hiring anybody. So it also involves not you bringing in venture capital, not bringing in any investment dollars. So when you take each of those areas, hiring people, investment money, those add lots of extra rules and restrictions to how to run your business, and it makes the business exponentially more complicated. So as you pare it down to something that's more manageable, then it becomes the likelihood of success is greater. And so we're going to start seeing a lot more of these type of enterprises as a result of that. And so, but virtually all of the entrepreneurial education that goes on is educating people for these breakaway businesses that employ hundreds, thousands of people. That kind of distorts the way we should be looking at this, because there's lots of different niches in this whole world of entrepreneurship. So
I've got 4 points on this that I'll try to go through quickly. I actually have 27 points in it, but only 4 that I'll share in this discussion. Number one, and I have viewed this from both perspectives. We have a venture capital investment arm, so we back startups, we work with big companies. I think there is massive potential within big companies because they can do things that startup companies simply cannot. So I think it is great that big companies think about what they can do to unleash all of that potential. Second, in every company that I have ever seen, there's at least one person on the leadership team that has cold sweat about the business, that recognizes that they're facing disruption, that things are changing, that the organization is not responding quickly enough. You have to find that person because you need a champion in the organization. Third thing is you go and prove it. There's so much you can do in this day and age without asking for resources, without spending anything. So go and demonstrate what it looks like if you go and try something different. Then the fourth thing I would say, just on motivating, The research shows, and this is counterintuitive, if you're trying to motivate people on fundamentally creative tasks, if you give them financial incentives, their performance goes down. Let me say that again. Financial incentives, creative tasks, performance goes down. The way that you motivate them is primarily giving them a chance to develop mastery, giving them autonomy, and instilling their work with a sense of purpose. So you need to figure out for your organization, what is that sense of purpose? That's from Daniel Pink's book, Drive. Very good book on this topic. Those are my 4 points.
I was going to make one point, and interpreting part of your question at least being, how do you inject into big organizations entrepreneurial spirit, creativity, etc.? You can, of course, commission KPMG or McKinsey to do your report. That may not have all that you want. But I think Australia's actually innovated almost the world's most interesting answer to this question. But I'm not sure I'm allowed to mention it because it's in Adelaide, not in Melbourne. And that's the Thinker in Residence program. I assume most of you are aware of it, but this is a government created a role of Thinker in Residence to bring in the world's best thinkers on different topics like advanced manufacturing or climate change to work in a very structured way with the bureaucracy to develop pilots and programs and policy changes, most of which have been implemented. And I think they've had 24 so far, and that means there's a constant injection into the system of new ideas, new thinking from all over the world. And it's not at all obvious to me why every government doesn't do that and every big corporation, because you need that outside injection. But it's a little bit like love and power. You also then need to link their ideas into a program for implementation and power through the bureaucracy. And I think South Australia has done it, I think, better than anywhere else in the world, but perhaps because it's Adelaide, it's not even really talked about.
Doesn't get out there. Nothing much travels out of Adelaide. No, that's not true.
And you touched a nerve there.